welcome everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. We're back in the Psychology of Eating podcast. I'm with Rory today. Welcome, Rory.
Thank you very much, Marc.
Glad we're here. Glad we're doing this. In case anybody is new to the podcast here, what we're doing is Rory and I are meeting for the first time, and we get to do a session together to see if we can make some good things happen. So, Rory, if you could wave your magic wand and get whatever you wanted with food and body, what would that be for you?
My main overriding issue has always been body dysmorphia, and my ability to control my eating has been really okay. I've got I'm one of those few individuals, I believe, who can use willpower and to eat what I want. I've certainly done it over many years. But my big issue it doesn't matter what I eat, what I do. The dysmorphia, it really has played a significant negative role in my life, and it's always there. And yeah, it's tried so many different methods to dilute it, to try and move it, but failed miserably, to be honest, with it. Yeah.
So, Rory, how does body dysmorphia show up for you? What happens in your mind? What do you tell yourself?
Never good enough. Never where I want to be. Mirrors, windows, whatever. I mean, there's always that's always the light that reminds me very quickly how I avoid them. And yeah, it's there all the time, Marc. It's literally been with me since I can remember.
So if you could just have the exact body that you wanted, what would it look like?
It would be a 400 meter runner on the Olympic track. That type of body.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bulky, but athletic.
Mm-hmm. So that would mean more muscle for you, less body fat. Is that true?
My BMI has always been. I've always kept it in a sort of that 8-9%, a 10, whatever. So it's not fat. It's but the muscle, yes. It's trying to remain. I'm naturally thin, and over my years, I've put muscle on, let it go a few times. Maybe in the last 4 years, I've lost muscle for various different reasons.
Mm-hmm. When did you first started noticing that this was going on in your mind? That you just weren't satisfied with where your body was at and just couldn't get there?
Consciously, probably in my mid-20s. It'd always been there. Because I've lived with it all my life, I don't think I really recognized it for what it was. But it was in my mid-20s, and then obviously on the course with the mirror work and things like that, I really got to confront it more. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So you think it was always there even when you were a child?
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see from a child, from my dad. My dad he was fat phobic, and my sister really suffered from that. She was a couple of years older than me, but yeah, I grew up in a family where my sister got weighed every day. As soon as my dad came back from something, from a trip aboard from the forces, whatever, the first thing we'd do would weigh my sister, and some of the emotional stuff that came from that, the anger, blah blah blah. And so I don't think, I'm assuming, but it seemed pretty obvious that it came from there, and wanting to be what my dad wanted me to be.
Mm-hmm.
And also I was an incredibly skinny, little kid growing up in Britain, and we didn't get much food back then.
Mm-hmm. So how old are you now?
62.
62. Is your dad still alive?
Just died 2 months. I'm sat in his house at the moment, 2 months.
Mm-hmm. And how is your sister doing these days relative to her body, her weight?
She's morbidly obese.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely took its toll on her, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. So have there been times in your life where you've noticed that the inner voice calms down a little bit and you're not as critical, or you're not as, oh, my body needs to be different?
It literally never goes away. It doesn't matter how much compliments, whatever, they just literally fall on deaf ears. Although, you like to hear them. But that's a good question. But probably only when I've always done extreme sports, climbing, kayaking, blah blah blah, things like that. And when I'm on expedition, you're up the face on the El Capitan or something, then it all disappears. And
Right.
it really does. And I truly do relish those moments, because we talk about presence and things like that. That is, to me, that is presence, and everything disappears. Everything disappears. But it's always there, as I say, a window, whatever. But there's no windows going down white water and things like that, so you're okay. But soon as there's it's quite demeaning springs to mind. I pride myself in facing many things, but this one, as I say, it is significant.
Yes, yes. Especially because it's been there for the majority of your life, and it defies whatever efforts you've made to let it go. So are you in a relationship these days?
Yes, yeah, I'm married again. 11 years ago, my wife, from when we came from Britain, she died suddenly. She had a pulmonary embolism, and that was interesting. Left with five kids. She had a good sense of humor, and so that was interesting. But but 5 years ago, I got remarried, and I'm in a really beautiful, loving relationship. Fantastic relationship.
Are the kids all grown now?
My twin boys are 18 now. They're 18, and my oldest is 25.
How would you say your kids' relationships with their bodies are?
They're all incredibly athletic, but that's not what you're asking. There's a lot of anxiety around health, Marc. Everybody's has got that, and if I'm being authentic, it's, even though I hide it really well, I have thoughts that I get rid of really quickly. But it's that anxiety is certainly with me as well, and yeah.
Thoughts about getting sick or getting a disease?
Um, yeah, I mean, touch wood, never do. You know, without being funny, I never get. I just do not get sick. I never have, and colds, anything like that. But but yes, you know, it's things like that the anxiety can come up, you know, a mole or something like that, and it's straight away thinking about the worst scenario. But within 30 seconds, you know, I'm not sure if I'm denying it or I'm processing it. I'm not sure. But I can move away from it. But certainly the kids they all suffer. They all do suffer from that, which is interesting. It's obviously something runs through the family.
Mhm. So before your dad died, how was your relationship with him?
It was almost like a miracle happened, because you know, like most young men, I just wanted to make my dad happy, you know, by being what he wanted me to be. And over the years, you know, that turned to again, nothing unusual, turned to hatred, really, if I'm being honest. But we always, you know, I've always my dad being over in New Zealand with my mum. They were over here for 20 odd years. They've sort of followed us over after a couple of years. We came over, and we've done a lot together and had a lot of experiences together. But there was like a miracle happened in the last few years. My mum died a couple of years ago, and he became very dependent on me. He just lived around the corner, and all the way up to his death, there was like it really was quite beautiful the way it morphed into genuine love and forgiveness, and that was remarkable. That was really remarkable. And I was there when it was just him and I when he died, and it was it was really special. And I do feel so much love for him now, and all those feelings. I say that the miracle is they've gone. All those feelings of hate and whatever. And I wouldn't have used that word, but that's what it was. And it's not a word I use lightly, but I did. I think I genuinely did hate him, and I can say that now because now it's been replaced with love, and it's very, very different, very, very different feeling.
Mhm. What do you think? Can you say more about what you think shifted in you? What realization you had? I get that, just the experience of being close with him and him being dependent on you and feeling the love, and maybe that's the answer. But was there anything else that you said to yourself or that you realized that helped the forgiveness happen?
Um, I mean, I was watching his vulnerability. I mean, he's a big 6 foot bloody 3 Glaswegian who never showed, typical in that era, never showed an emotion or expressed an emotion. You know, all my life, you know, there was never a hug, you know, never a kiss, and all the things I do for my boys, we hug and kiss all the time. But my dad obviously just wasn't his thing. And as a young boy, that was very much. And it was interesting to see him become vulnerable and start to express emotion, especially after my mum died. And that really started to break that cast iron view I had of him, and that he didn't need anything. He didn't need forgiveness, didn't need anything, and didn't need me in so many ways. So yeah, and many other things. I mean, I went from atheist to doing a course in miracles maybe 10, 11 years ago. And that has flipped my world upside down, you know, as from not believing in anything to understanding that the only thing that is forgiveness and love, and truly knowing that and living that now. And where before, you know, it wasn't part of my vocabulary, certainly not anything in the feeling aspect of things.
Hmm. You know, Rory, a couple of things that are coming to my mind as we're talking, and one of them is that that oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, a man's relationship with his body will track or be similar to his relationship with his father. So my relationship with my father and my relationship with my body will be very similar, particularly in terms of what was cast from the beginning. Meaning from the beginning with your dad, the relationship in part was, whoa, this is my dad, you know, he's the big person in my life. Other than my mother, the two biggest, most important people when we're young, our parents are gods. You know, we come from them. And here is your dad, and what you're noticing is he's stern, he's rigid, he's a military man, and he's letting the kids know, and you can see this especially with your sister, he's letting her know your love and acceptance, your lovability and acceptability is dependent on how much you weigh and how you look. So you were the smart observer as a child, and you observed, whoa, dad's really strict, particularly with my sister, he weighs her. And basically what he's saying, as soon as he comes back, he weighs her. So what he's saying is, your lovability, my child, depends on how I think you look and weigh, and if that measures up to me. So you see that and you go, my lovability, my acceptability depends on how much I weigh and how I look. And it's easy as a young man to have an ideal. It's easy as a woman to have an ideal. We see the ideal out there. You see it in the movies, in comics, in superheroes, and whatever it is. You figure out really quick what the ideal is. I got to be big, strong, and not have any body fat as a man. And you'll pick your particular ideal that you land on. Okay, I got to look like this, amazingly lithe runner, world-class Olympics. So that if I do that, hey, I'm lovable. I'm safe. I'm good. I'm accepted. I don't have to worry. I'll never have to be weighed. I'll never have to be assessed or judged, because if I'm perfect. Kids are brilliant observers.
Absolutely, yeah.
But very poor interpreters. So we observe, oh, I need to look a certain way in order to be lovable. And we interpret that as, therefore, I need to be perfect. I will find the ideal of perfect that I think fits here, and I will aspire to that. So that's the most logical and wise interpretation you can make as a child. Anyone can make as a child. And it was a smart interpretation, given your level of understanding and wisdom at that point, because we're dependent on our parents. Without them, we're in trouble. So I have to make sure they love me. So relationship with your body for a man oftentimes tracks relationship with father. So relationship with father was, I need to be perfect. And now your relationship with your body is, body, you need to be perfect.
That hit, that really did. It's funny, I never associated that. I did with my sister about how it had, but never with. I realized that I needed to. My dad wanted me to be, this, that, whatever, and all, and my physical body, for whatever reason, academically, My dad never had any aspirations for me whatsoever. And, but physically, he wanted me to be a man.
Yes.
You know, he wanted me a man. As a kid, he thought I was effeminate and whatever. And so he literally tried to beat that out of me. And I wasn't effeminate. I was just a gentle, just a very, very gentle young boy. And, yeah. Yeah, and at 16, I joined the Royal Marine Commandos, stayed there for 22 years, became a PTI. You know, it was all physical. Everything was how physical could I go? How physically challenging, you know, and everything I've done is body challenge. And then I've, you know, obviously academically, of course I've gone down that road as well now. But it's always been, everything I've done academically is always around body, always.
Because
sports science. Well, yeah.
That's what you learned from a young age. You learned your dad, who is your role model.
Mm.
You're a boy, your dad's your role model. You're a girl, your mom's your role model. I don't care what anybody says. And you learned, you understood, whether you consciously were aware of it or not, I got to be toughened up here. Why? Because my dad says so. Why did he say so? Because that's what he learned. That's what he was taught. So he wasn't a bad guy. That's what he learned. That's the world he grew up in. He grew up in a world that was more like, okay, you can't be a sensitive young man. You can't be a sensitive soul. You got to be physically strong if you want to survive. Why? Because there's tough people out there. There's fighting, there's war. And you got to protect yourself. You got to protect your family. So he was taught the value of you have to be physically strong and fit and able to be a man who is self-sufficient and can protect those around you, including your own kids. So that's the unconscious model. That's the model he was given. And that's the model you absorb from him.
Yeah.
And as you said, we want our parents' love. I want my dad to love me. How do I get his love? I'm becoming the person you said I should become. Like, look at what I can do with my body. I'm strong. I'm a guy. I'm not sensitive. I'm not sweet. I'm not kind. I'm tough.
Yeah. It was that is so true. I'm just laughing because my dad about a year ago he was moaning about something, and I remember him just saying to me, "My God, you are tough. You're a tough, hard man." You know, my response to some of his moans, and I just remember being so shocked that he said that, and saw the irony. And my God, I'm tough. You know, I'm tough and whatever. When I'm, you know, obviously my dad. To me, I'm just a little boy, a little soft little boy still with my father. But yeah.
So that right there is for you what I think is still happening. So all the body dysmorphia is, take away the term body dysmorphia for a moment. And let's look at this just as a story. Let's look at your life as a story and understand why you have this kind of relationship with your body. Let's call it a relationship. My relationship with my body is such that, I look in the mirror, I look in a window, and I think, like, this is not good enough. Got to be stronger, tougher, leaner, etc. And I can't seem to get that thought out of my head. That's just my relationship with my body. And what you and I are doing right now is we're just breaking it down and understanding why that for you makes perfect sense. Why there's actually nothing, quote unquote, wrong with you, but why that belief, why that behavior, why that way you talk to yourself actually makes perfect sense. Again, you're growing up, you're a young child, you see what your father values. This is what I need to do to be loved and accepted. So I better do this really, really, really well. So you're a high achiever. kind of person. And you're like, okay, if this is what I got to do to be loved, to be tough and strong, I'm going to do it as good as humanly possible. But the problem is that we can't realize when we're young is that what we're looking for is just the moment of, I'm lovable as I am. I'm okay as I am. I don't need to be any different. If any of your children came to you right now and said, Dad, I'm not feeling good about my body. I wish it looked different. You wouldn't say, you're right. And I'm not going to love you until your body changes. You wouldn't say that to them. You wouldn't even think of saying that to them.
No.
It wouldn't even be in your worst nightmare to say that to them. But we introject, we take in the voices that we heard from the outside, and then we make it our own. So your dad didn't need to keep telling you the message of you need to be strong and tough. Once you moved out of the house, once you became your own person, because that voice was already in there.
Yeah.
So there's a part of you that's still a child in relationship to your dad. That's still that young boy wanting your dad's approval. Now you said, hey, we had this miracle. I'm able to forgive my father. I can see, wow, we got close and there's an emotional connection and there was a human connection and you felt love from him. In part because he was dependent on you and he was vulnerable. And when you're getting old and you're dying, your body ain't strong and tough anymore. So when the body's not strong and tough anymore, more of who he really was came out. And just as you learn to forgive him, just as you learn to love and forgive him, that's your task with your body. Learning to love and forgive your body. Not that it's done anything wrong. Not that we actually have to forgive your body, but there's a place where because you were angry at your dad, understandably, you weren't forgiving him understandably because on some part of you knew, like, I wasn't really loved and accepted by him. I couldn't feel loved and accepted. I couldn't feel connected to him. I couldn't relax with him. I couldn't be the real me with him. I had to be somebody else. So internally there was resentment.
Yeah.
And now it's the same way towards your body. I can't really love and accept my body until it's different. So yeah. So now you just need to catch up. So now you've done some really beautiful work. You've had an amazing opportunity. I think when we're able to forgive our parents and love them unconditionally, no matter what they did, it's a huge, I think it's just a huge soul victory. It's a huge personal victory because we're no longer blaming them and we can start to live our own life. We see that they did the best that they could do. We see that they were just two people. Your dad was just some guy. He was just some guy. And these are the things he learned that were important. Yeah, he was your dad, but to everybody else, he was a guy. So you learn to forgive and love your dad, and now it's learning to forgive and love your body and notice that you're changing the same conversation about your body, same internal conversation that you have about your body. It was the same internal conversation you had about your dad.
Yeah, I struggle with that. Straight away I can feel, it's what you're saying, it's so logical, and the pathology of it all really makes such sense, Marc.
Yeah.
And it's just this weird death hate. This there's something, I've I look at my life, and it's almost like, I've tried to kill my body, and there's such a line between this, it's two stories. There's a story of a consciousness, a soul, whatever you want to call it, and then there's this body that is like the representation of everything that's not real, and
Right.
and there's the hatred of it, and it's when I look in the mirror, that reflects back at me, and almost it's not me, and obviously I think that's a journey we all go on, that separation between that, but it does feel insurmountable.
Yes.
My dad told me to forgive, but my body's maybe the last symbol of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps it is. And I hear you that it feels insurmountable. And that's the miracle that we're going to look to create the conditions for. So yeah, if you could have done it, you would have done it. You would have figured it out. It's too much for the mind to try to fix. It's too big.
Yeah.
So first, I think it's just understanding and believing, oh, this is the direction I wish to move in. I don't know how to get there. Like, maybe you don't know how to speak Italian, but you know that if you really wanted to, you can figure out where to go learn it. You don't know how to do it right now, but you can eventually figure it out. So you don't know how to love and forgive your body and accept your body and feel that your body is home, and you don't have to be disconnected from it or wanting it to be something different. You don't know how to do that, but that's what I'm shooting for. So to begin to put that in your sights, because previously the way your mind frames it is, this is insurmountable. It's too much. Because that's how it felt as a child. As a child, it's like, this is too much. Like, oh, I got to do everything to be perfect in my body. And it's never enough. Like, it was never enough. No matter how tough you became, no matter how athletic you became, it was never enough. And it took your dad's death and for the miracle and the connection and the love that happened in there, where you were able to have compassion for him. You felt him. So this is about you having compassion for your body and starting to feel your body. So you've been taught to do things to your body. Yeah. I exercise it, I work it out, I make it do these things, and I make it do these things really well. And that's great. I mean, that's amazing. But there's a part of you that that tells your body what to do, and your body goes and does it. As opposed to slightly different relationship, which is, what's going on with my body? What's it feeling like? What's it asking me for? What does it want from me? If my body was like a little boy, what does it want? Wants the same thing every other little boy or little girl wants, and wants to be hugged, wants to be loved, wants to be accepted, wants to be told you're okay. So the practice to get to the miracle is small, tiny, baby step, kind acts of love and care and nourishment. And for you, I think it's listening to your body in a different way. Speaking to your body as if it's a child and asking it, what do you need from me? Really, 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 really.
Yeah, I punish my body. That's just I punish my body with diet. You know, I'm so extreme. You know, I went from 3 years vegan to, you know, a year and a half carnivore. it's
See,
yeah, I'm punishing it. Yeah.
your mind is strong enough that you can do that. You can say, okay, I'm going to be on a vegan diet for X number of years. I'm going to be on a carnivore diet for X number of years. Your mind is strong enough that you can do that. Now it's training your mind to just step back a little bit and go, oh, I'm punishing my body. Okay, what does my body want? And start to be in relationship with it on its own terms, as if it has a voice. Something that might be helpful is for you to write a letter from your body to you. And the letter starts with, Dear Rory. And your body, imagine your body is very wise when you're writing this letter. So you're sort of channeling the inner voice of your body, and the body saying, Dear Rory, here's what I got to say to you. Here's all the good things. Here's all the things I want to thank you for. Here's all the ways I feel challenged. Here's what I need from you. So there's no admonishment in this. There's no judgment in it. The body is just talking to you like it's your best friend, because it is.
Yeah. No, that'll be, I can feel the compassion already.
Yes. So it's starting to feel that. It's so instead of doing things to the body, my mind tells my body what to do. It's you being in a more feeling relationship with your body. What's my body saying? What's it asking for? What does it want? My body doesn't want to be punished. Nobody wants to be punished. It hurts.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, the voice. There's two voices again coming up there. One is of God, yeah, I want to do that. You know, it's time to do that. And there's another thing saying, you know, almost my dad's voice, or I think it's my voice now, saying, nah, punishment is good. You know,
yeah,
through the fire of the furnace, you know, blah, 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 everything I've been taught.
Yeah. So let's just accept that that voice is there. So this is not about fighting that voice. Well, but that voice is there. Of course it's there. So let's just accept that that voice is there. And when that voice comes up, you go, yeah, there's that voice. Yeah. And we give a little bit more attention to the other voice. So there's a difference between trying to fight a voice and make it go away. We're not doing that. You're not going to make that voice go away by fighting it or trying to out willpower it. That doesn't work. The way that voice goes away is you actually embrace it and you acknowledge it. You have compassion for it because you know where it comes from. Now, you know that that's the voice of that little child who was trying to make sure his daddy loved him. So I got to push my body. I got to punish it. I got to toughen it up. I got to make it into an athletic man in order to be loved. So that's where that voice comes from. And that voice thinks your survival depends on you beating up your body. That's what it thinks. So we have compassion for that voice. Oh, there's that voice again. I understand where it came from. Big hug. And now I'm going to pay attention to the voice that wants some love and acceptance and kindness towards my body. My body's tired of being punished.
It is. Mm.
There are ways you can be in your body and move your body that your body wants to do that will give you great pleasure. You probably already know some of those ways, but your brain might not think, well, this isn't going to toughen me up enough.
Mm.
You know, what is it that you like to do just because my body loves doing this? I don't know. My body loves hiking. My body loves being in the ocean. My body loves being on a paddleboard, surfing a wave. There are certain things your body loves doing. My body loves being touched. And when those experiences are happening, really sink into them. Oh,
Yeah.
notice how good your body feels
Mm.
when it's being nourished in the way that it wants to be nourished.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Sense, because I don't do it. I just use, I don't, that connection is, quite confronting, actually. I get this, it's disembodiment, I'm disembodied from that part. It's just, I can,
So it's learning. It's just learning. You're learning. I mean, think of it this way, how beautiful you're learning how to be in your body in a certain way for the first time.
Mm.
At age 60 something, you're learning how to be in your body in a very sweet way. And, on a certain level, here you are. You said you were 62.
Mm.
You're healthy.
Yeah, very.
You're fit. And so your body has befriended you, despite the fact that you've been pushing it and punishing it. It's still been your friend. So you can look at trusting your body. See, a lot of this is about trusting your body. When you say, oh, I get maybe a little symptom and my brain starts to go in a bad direction and I cut myself off, part of that is you just don't want to be in that conversation. And that's not a bad thing.
Mm.
There's a piece of you, there's actually a part of you that trusts your body. If you're climbing a mountain, you got to trust your body. If you're doing any extreme sport, you got to trust your body. You can get hurt.
Mm.
So there's other ways to trust one's body other than just pushing it to the limit. I trust that even when I get a symptom that I don't want, that I'm going to be with it and pay attention to it and maybe get help and work it out.
Mm.
And do my best. I'm trusting my body because my body got me this far. Here you are.
Yeah.
And you now know, because you've witnessed the death of both your parents, you now know that you're mortal. You know you're going to die at some point. When both our parents die, something in us clicks like, oh, this is definitely going to happen to me.
I'm next.
Right. So this is a beautiful time to create a new relationship with your body.
It is.
And just catch yourself when you use the terms, well, this is insurmountable. Just catch yourself. It's not insurmountable. You've already surmounted things that might have seemed insurmountable to you. You had a miracle with your dad. You can have the same miracle with your body. I mean that. And it's just a question now of just doing the little things. Doing the little things. So when the old voice comes in, no, you got to push your body, you got to punish your body, you got to hate on your body. Have compassion for that. Remember where it comes from. That's the little boy in you looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
Think of how you would treat your children if they had the same internal conversation that you did. If your children came to you and said, Dad, this is what I'm telling myself, you would say, hey, you don't have to do that. So it's being the father to your body that you never really had. Being the parent to your body that you never really had.
Yeah. 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 It never occurred to me. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't occur to us because when we're in it, we're in it. And I think you're just in a great situation because you have your health and you have awareness and you care and you've seen miracles happen. And we're going to reframe body dysmorphia. Only reason I want to reframe that and let that term go is because it kind of medicalizes it. Yeah. And it makes it sound like there's something wrong with me. And there's actually nothing wrong with you. You were making the smartest decisions based on how you were brought up as a very young human. You were adapting in the best way that you knew how. I better have a perfect body so I can be loved, protected, and safe. Oh, okay. Now that I'm an adult, I see that that pattern doesn't work. And now I'm going to slowly start to change that. That's what you're doing. Yeah. So this is no longer a problem. This is a new part of your journey. New part of your story. Yeah, I've just got to let it go without putting it into a system and pathologizing it. I just need to let it go. It just feels like I just need to, I just want to let it go. Let it go. Be compassionate to myself. That'd be an interesting yes. one. That's what I got for you, Rory. That to me, I think hits the target, this conversation, in terms of me, just kind of laying out what I think is the roadmap for you. It's going to be interesting, Marc. It's going to be interesting. And, I as you say, miracles happen. Yes. Rory, great work. Thank you, Marc. I really appreciate the conversation. I hope it was beneficial for you. Without a doubt. And I look forward to writing that letter. All right. Rory, thank you so much. Thank you, Marc. And thanks everybody for tuning in, my friends. Take care.
Hey friends, we're so happy that you've joined us for another episode of The Psychology of Eating with Marc David. Are you loving these episodes? Then simply subscribe and you'll never miss an episode again. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below so we can hear more about your own journey with food and body. And if you're curious about what we offer at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, including our internationally acclaimed coach certification training that's rooted in dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition, please head on over to our website, psychologyofeating.com. Until next time, take care, and remember, having the body you want starts with loving the body you have.